Ever wondered who really pulls the strings in our world? We often think of governments and corporations, but what if I told you there's a hidden force, a shadow power that operates in the dark, shaping our societies in ways we can barely imagine? This isn't a movie plot. It's the reality of organized crime and its deep, unsettling connection with corruption. This alliance isn't just a local problem. It's a global threat to our democracy, our safety, and our future. Let's start with a simple idea: corruption. We usually think of a politician taking a bribe or a public official bending the rules for personal gain. It's distasteful, sure, but how dangerous can it be? Well, when that politician or official partners with an organized crime group, it becomes something far more sinister. It becomes a dark alliance. Think of it like this. Organized crime groups need a few key things to thrive. They need to launder their dirty money, they need to bypass laws and regulations, and they need to silence anyone who gets in their way. Who has the power to grant all of this? Corrupt officials. In return for cash, favors, or even protection, these officials become the crime group's most valuable asset. They can turn a blind eye to a massive drug shipment, approve a shady construction project that's actually a front for money laundering, or leak sensitive information about a police investigation. This isn't just about individual greed, it's about systemic infiltration. When corruption becomes widespread, it's like a disease that weakens the entire body of the state. The justice system, which is supposed to be our shield, gets compromised. Police, prosecutors, and even judges can be bought. Laws become meaningless because they are selectively enforced. Trust in public institutions evaporates, and people start to feel like the system is rigged because, in many ways, it is. This creates a vicious cycle. As crime networks grow richer and more powerful through corruption, they have more resources to corrupt even more officials at higher and higher levels. They can influence elections, fund political campaigns, and essentially place their own people in positions of power. At that point, they are no longer just breaking the law. They are writing the law. Democracy, the idea that power rests with the people, is hollowed out from the inside. The will of the citizens is replaced by the will of the criminals. Now let's zoom out, because this problem doesn't stop at any country's border. Welcome to the world of transnational organized crime. In our globalized world, just as goods and information flow freely across borders, so do crime and corruption. They're not your old-school local gangs. These are sophisticated, multinational enterprises with complex supply chains, advanced technology, and a global reach. Their business is anything that turns a profit, no matter the human cost. We're talking about drug trafficking on an industrial scale, shipping tons of narcotics from South America to Europe and North America. We're talking about human trafficking, a modern form of slavery where desperate people seeking a better life are exploited, abused, and sold. They also deal in weapons, counterfeit goods that can be dangerous, and cybercrime that can cripple economies. A recent UN report estimated that the illicit economy is worth trillions of dollars annually. That's a staggering amount of money that fuels conflict, destabilizes entire regions, and erodes global security. How do they operate on such a massive scale? By exploiting the seams of our global system. They use offshore bank accounts and shell companies in jurisdictions with weak financial regulations to launder their profits until they appear legitimate. They use the same shipping routes and logistics networks that bring you your online orders to move their illicit goods. They are masters of adaptation, constantly finding new routes, new methods, and new markets. The frightening part is how their operations in one part of the world can have devastating consequences in another. Illegal logging in the Amazon, driven by criminal networks, contributes to climate change that affects us all. The synthetic opioid crisis in North America is fueled by precursor chemicals manufactured and shipped from halfway around the world. A cyber attack launched from Eastern Europe can shut down a hospital's computer systems in the United States. In this interconnected web, no country is an island. The actions of transnational crime groups create a domino effect, where instability and violence in one nation can easily spill over and become a threat to others. So, we have this dark alliance of crime and corruption operating on a global scale. But what does this mean for our everyday lives? How does this hidden power actually shape our society? The influence is more pervasive than you might think. Let's look at the economy. When organized crime infiltrates legitimate businesses, It's not just about laundering money. It's about distorting the entire market. They can use their illicit cash to undercut legitimate competitors, driving honest business owners into bankruptcy. Think of a local restaurant owner who plays by the rules, pays taxes, and treats their employees fairly. How can they compete with a rival establishment that's backed by dirty money and doesn't care about making a profit, only about washing its cash? They can't. This leads to less competition, fewer choices for consumers, and a less dynamic economy for everyone. This criminal influence can warp entire sectors. Construction, waste management, and even high-end real estate are often targeted. Crime groups can use intimidation to win public contracts, resulting in shoddy work, inflated costs, and infrastructure that is unsafe. The buildings we live in, the roads we drive on, and the services we rely on can all be compromised. Then there's the social fabric. In communities where organized crime takes root, fear becomes a way of life. People are afraid to speak out, afraid to cooperate with the police, afraid to trust their neighbors. This silence allows crime to flourish. Young people, seeing the wealth and power of criminals and the lack of legitimate opportunities, can be drawn into a life of crime. It presents a twisted version of the easy way out, a path that ultimately leads to violence and tragedy. Culture itself can be affected. The glorification of the gangster lifestyle in movies and music can sometimes normalize criminal behavior, making it seem glamorous rather than destructive. But the reality is anything but glamorous. It's a world of violence, betrayal, and immense human suffering. Not just for the victims, but for the perpetrators and their families as well. So what can we do? It feels like an overwhelming problem, a battle against a shadowy, all-powerful enemy. But it's not hopeless. The first and most powerful weapon we have is awareness. By understanding how this dark alliance works, we strip away its greatest strength, its invisibility. When we know what to look for, we can start to see the signs of corruption and criminal influence in our own communities. Fighting back starts at the grassroots level. It means demanding transparency and accountability from our public officials. It means supporting investigative journalism that dares to expose these corrupt networks. It means voting for leaders who have a clear and credible plan to strengthen institutions and fight corruption, not just talk about it. Globally, it requires unprecedented international cooperation. Countries need to work together to share intelligence, track illicit financial flows, and conduct joint operations to dismantle these transnational networks. Stronger international laws and agreements are needed to close the loopholes that allow criminals to hide their money and escape justice. On a personal level, it means making ethical choices. It means refusing to look the other way. It means supporting businesses that are known to be legitimate and ethical. And it means teaching the next generation the value of integrity, so they are less susceptible to the allure of easy, dirty money. This is a long and difficult fight. The forces of organized crime and corruption are deeply entrenched and will not give up their power easily. But the alternative is to cede our societies, our economies, and our democracies to them. That is a price we cannot afford to pay. By shedding light on these dark alliances, by demanding better from our leaders, and by working together across borders, we can begin to push back against the shadows and reclaim the future we all deserve. Thank you for watching. If you found this video insightful, please give it a like. Subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the forces shaping our world, and share this video to help spread awareness. Let's start the conversation in the comments below.